want to show another document that students may encounter on the AP U.S. History test. It's a map depicting the Kansas-Nebraska Act, 1854. Viewers will notice a red line on that map. That's the line of the Missouri Compromise, which Jason Stacy was just talking about. But the blue states and areas there, territories, the free states and territories, and then the orange, the slave states and territories. What should students be looking for when they encounter this?
Great question. Okay, so what we have here is a secondary source, the kind of document that students could see on a multiple choice question or even on the document-based essay question. So first thing, of course, students want to make sure that they understand what the map is depicting. So as you said, we've got the free states in blue, the slave states in orange, and the red line that indicates the Missouri Compromise, which banned slavery north of that and Louisiana Purchase. But then there's other elements to the map too. There's that kind of peach or tan colored, those territories towards the west, and then there's also the green, which is the Kansas-Nebraska Act. And both of those are under popular sovereignty. So students want to be reminded of, oh, that's right. These two laws, Compromise of 1850, which brought California in as a state and kind of disrupted the precedent set by the Missouri Compromise, which had been that there would be roughly an equal balance between free and slave states. That law, and then of course the Kansas-Nebraska Act 4 years later, both of those have a similarity in that they introduced this feature known as popular sovereignty. And popular sovereignty is when the people of that territory, when it's time for them to apply for statehood, they themselves will hold a vote and they'll decide whether to come in as a free state or a slave state. It's a very convenient way for the politicians in D.C. to kind of kick the problem down the road, because ever since the Missouri crisis, that sectional balance has been a very big issue. So students should ask themselves what led to the developments there. That's what in AP we call causation, looking at the causes of that. So the causes of the Kansas-Nebraska Act are the need to build, the desire and need to build a transcontinental railroad to connect California to the Midwest. Now, Senator Douglas from Illinois wanted to facilitate a northern route. Southerners were opposed to that, but he essentially made a deal saying, look, if we open up the remainder of the Louisiana Purchase to popular sovereignty, that has the potential to expand slavery in a place where for decades now they thought it wouldn't expand. And if you notice, Kansas is right alongside Missouri. And in the process, that would allow those territories to be organized and would increase the likelihood of that transcontinental railroad being built. So students should be looking at what led to that. And then, of course, the other side of causation is what resulted from that. And so that's where students can connect the chaos that happens, the fact that what happens with the situation where there's going to be a vote in Kansas is that both sides are sending sometimes armed people into Kansas to vote. There's electoral fraud there. There is so much violence that it gets the nickname Bleeding Kansas. The Whig Party itself actually disintegrates over the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and what you have instead is a political realignment and the emergence of a new sectional party, the Republican Party, and their main plank is no extension of slavery. And we know that in 1860, just 6 years after passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, the Republican candidate, Abraham Lincoln, is going to be elected to the presidency. And that, of course, is going to then lead 11 southern states to secede and lead us into a civil war. So students need to be able to connect the map and the developments that are being depicted on that map with some of those other historical developments and show the cause and effect relationships between them.